Hey YouTube, what's up? I got another video here. I got a guy here, Gary Plus. It's no affiliation with Rogan. Does fan videos about him. I don't know. I just started watching this, and I'm questioning all the stuff that he's saying because it's like stating things like it's facts, like that's true or not, and it's like I'm questioning his facts. Like how do you know that's true? What you just can't just say that. Actually, I don't know. You'll see what I mean. Watch this.
But the idea is that they're pulling answers
Talking about the new chat quantum computers, how they work.
from different universes simultaneously. They don't even completely understand how this is working. But the amount of power in computing is incomprehensible. And it's probably the biggest breakthrough technologically in human history by a long stretch. And it's all happening without most people even being aware of what the implications are.
Joe Rogan is about.
Okay, so this guy that's talking now, well, the guy that I'm questioning, okay, that guy's voice. I don't know if it's a real person or it's just a guy voice. Anyways,
About to dive into something deep.
put on the caption.
Deeply unsettling: AI, quantum computing, and how
The cap.
it will take over the world. What Joe says next takes things to another level.
Yeah, but I'm questioning what you're saying. Is that really true?
Listen.
Well, one of the things that I've talked to about with some pretty insanely brilliant people is quantum computing.
Oh yes.
And this new Google quantum computer.
Yeah, they're gonna talk about the new Google quantum computer. They say about 1,000 years. How do you know that that's a true statement? It would take 1,000 years, and no one's lived 1,000 years. How do you know? That's just a very quick statement. Try to prove a point.
That can do it, essentially the way a quantum computer works, a problem that would take thousands of years for every computer on Earth.
Yeah.
How do you know that that's what you're actually called far-fetched?
To solve,
I've read that.
it can solve in a second.
Yeah.
Something that can take more years than you literally can understand.
That's like
it can
anything.
be solved in 15 minutes.
Yeah,
it's like anything on a
it's
computer,
insane,
bro.
and this is where it gets really weird. The way it was explained to me, and we should have to Google how quantum computers work and why people connect them to the multiverse, so I don't fuck this up. But the idea is that they're pulling answers from different universes simultaneously. They don't even completely understand how this is working.
If you don't understand, you just contradicted yourself. You're like, this person is a boy, but I don't understand if you just said it was.
From different universes.
How are you going to say it's coming from
connect them to the multiverse, so I don't fuck this up? But the idea is that they're pulling answers from different universes simultaneously.
Okay, so you're going to make a statement and say it like it's a fact, it's true, but then you're going to finish off the sentence with this.
They don't even completely understand how this is working.
They don't understand how it's working. So then how are you going to say that statement previously? Am I wrong?
But the amount of power in computing
you don't understand.
is
so how do you? And then you're going to say a fucking other
incomprehensible. Incomprehensible.
Yeah.
Like you're only looking at it, and there's numbers. You could write all those numbers out, but your brain's not capable of grasping.
Exactly, your brain's not capable. So how are you going? If you're gonna say you don't understand, but then how are you gonna say something
Really,
that's
what's
fine?
going on? Yeah. And it's probably the biggest breakthrough technologically in human history by
It's a breakthrough that we don't understand, but we're gonna say we understand.
a long stretch. And it's all happening without most people even being aware of what the implications are. So see if you can Google an explanation of how quantum computers work. Was it Mark Andreessen that was explaining to us that it's pulling from different universes?
No, that
Who was that?
being talked about in the wording of the Willow description.
Right.
But I also, just to add, when I was reading about this, they said that these benchmark numbers are coming off of Google's own data. Like they're the ones that set like the scale of what some of the quantum.
Are you skeptical? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just
Are you calling bullshit on Google?
No, not at all. Not
feel
at
like he
all.
is.
No. I'm just a grain of salt, like just to say that, like I think they used tillions is the number or something like that.
Septillion.
That no one even can grasp that.
Yeah,
that's just but that's a number based off of their formula too.
Like I said, how do we know that this is all true, guys? Comment below, guys. Like this video? You know the drill.
Right.
That's all.
Right. What is the definition of how it works? The way it pulls from multi universes.
I think I'm trying to find it, but I think the understanding I got from it was it's just too powerful to get from our universe alone. You'd have to have more than one, and I don't like. That's just
like what?
What does that even mean?
But I think the understanding.
Right. What is the definition of how it works? The way it pulls from multi universes.
I think I'm trying to find it, but I think the understanding I got from it was it's just too powerful to get from our universe alone. You'd have to have more than one, and I don't like. That's just
like what does that mean?
How
do they even
exactly?
Get
what
to
does that mean? Right.
understanding?
What is that thing that they have? And if you ever seen the chip itself is very small.
Yeah.
It's like the size of a saltine cracker.
Yeah.
And then this entire mechanism around it is just the insane amount of cooling. Okay. Google's quantum AI founder said the performance gains lends credence to the idea that we live in a multiverse. The idea is that Willow might be communicating with parallel universes to finish calculations faster.
What?
Like, what does that mean? The announcement led Google's already high stock price to surge, which isn't that shocking, but perhaps most surprising for us lay people that Google's quantum AI founder and lead, Harmut Nevin, said that the chip's performance lends credence to the notion that quantum computation occurs in many parallel universes in line with the idea that we live in a multiverse. And then it says, excuse me? This obviously has caused a bit of a stir and it isn't exactly clear on how he made that leap. It sounds a bit like something out of a sci-fi movie, and I'm definitely not going to pretend I'm an expert, but it's worth pointing out that Google is very much still in the theoretical research phase of this journey. This is very weird stuff. An evolving
The computer probably thinks that.
scientific field that even people working on it don't fully understand.
3 hours later.
Okay, so this is what it is. One of the world's most advanced classical computers. Okay, here it is with this problem. So AI's founder and lead, Hartmut Nevin, said that the new chip had performed a purposefully complicated exercise called a random circuit sampling benchmark in 5 minutes. One of the world's most advanced classical supercomputers, on the other hand, it would take 10 and then 3 zeros, 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 3 zeros. Years to perform.
How do you know that? How do you actually know that that would take that long?
In the same exercise. That's 10 septillion years, which exceeds known time scales in physics and vastly exceeds the age of the universe. So it can do more time than vastly exceeds the entire age of the universe, and it can do it in 5 minutes. And the reason it could achieve such a monumental improvement in calculating capacity is because Willow is made up of 105 qubits and can track the potential of each of those at once, allowing it to record potential data much faster and come to the right answer sooner. So, like, what is happening?
That's too much information.
What do you mean?
I get it, but I don't get it.
What I don't
Exactly.
get, how does that prove the multiverse or provide evidence that the multiverse is real, like, and that it's getting it from parallel universes? Like, what are we even saying here?
But it couldn't come up with those answers within the allotted time span that's
Set by who?
What?
Set by who? Exactly.
Fuck, I can't even.
You can't explain it because it doesn't make sense.
Span that's.
Yeah. What?
Oh.
Fuck, I can't even explain. I mean, funnily enough, this is that my brother's into all of this stuff. Sean, he's
in simpler.
I'm telling you, it's just you're making shit up, and then you're fumbling. Then you don't know how to explain yourself because you're lying.
Language.
He would probably be able to explain it to you, Sean.
Probably.
He's like
Well, he would
this
give it a
stuff.
shot.
He would, certainly.
I think he was the one that was probably explaining it to us. In simpler language, Willow is doing one calculation while an unknown number of Willows in other universes parallel to our own are doing their own calculations, and they are sharing that data to avoid needing to individually do every possible calculation to finish the equation. What the fuck does that mean? How are they?
Exactly. Guys, make sure to like and subscribe.
Are they sharing data between universes? I don't know. Ask Nevin. Remember, this is all theoretical and doesn't prove anything, but Nevin is saying that the fact that the chip can outperform our best supercomputers by such a wide margin means that it might have broken Newton's theory of physics. Yo, what does it say under that, Jamie?
What does this mean for me?
Keep that going. Oh, put that back on. Scroll up a little bit.
It's right here.
Okay, this is what I wanted to look at. At this point, it's an exciting look at what computing might take one day, but it isn't something you're going to see in your next Pixel phone. Quantum chips need to be isolated in incredibly specific chambers. Yeah, this is the thing. It's cooler than, it has to be cool to a point where it's colder than outer space, sealed away from any possible signals such as microwaves, radiation, radio signals, etc., for fear of that noise leading to potential mistakes, and have specific signals delivered by purpose-built wires. Who figured this out?
Exactly. Who figured this out, and how do we know what we're reading is actually what actually happened? The AI made this story. It's a fucking problem. Oh.
Quantum computing has these things called qubits. Okay, Q-U-B-I-T-S, qubits. Which a qubit is like Schrodinger's cat. It doesn't just have a value of a 1 or a 0. It is in superposition. Superposition means a superset of all the positions that are possible. So how many possibilities are there in a bit too, right? 0 and 1. Mm-hmm. So a qubit is a superposition of a bit, which means it has both values, 0 and 1, until someone measures that bit. And so theoretically, that's what allows quantum computers to solve problems that grow exponentially, that are really big. And we're still in the early stages, but if you think of an exponential growth problem, like cracking encryption, it can be done by a regular computer. You can set up your laptop to crack. It'll take like 1,000 years or something, right? Mm-hmm. Because you have to go through every single possible value. So if you have 64 bits, that's like 2 to the 64 values, which is huge. In fact, there's an old story about the Indian king and the wise man who play chess that illustrates this story of how big that number gets when you have exponential growth. So there was a king who liked to play chess, and no one wanted to play chess with him anymore because he kept
winning.
And finally, there's this wise man. He's like, "Please play chess with me." And the wise man says, "Okay, I'll play chess with you if I win. For the first square on the chessboard, you give me 1 grain of rice, and then the second square in the chessboard, you double that, 2 grains of rice, and you double that to 4 grains of rice and 6 grains of rice. So we're doubling on each square, right?" King's like, "Okay, sure, no big deal. There's just a bunch of rice, right?" And so it turns out when the wise man won, by the time you get to 2 to the 64, because there's 64 squares on the chessboard, that basically it was more rice than would fit in all of India, right? That's an exponential problem. It just grows so fast. And the reason it grows is there are too many possibilities, right? But now this new thing called a qubit's coming along. And the qubit has both possibilities at the same time. So if you have 64 bits and you take all the possible values of those 64 bits, you've got the same number of possibilities as the grains of rice we talked about. It's 2 to the 64. It's a very big number. It's 18 quintillion, right, is the number. There's a game called No Man's Sky. I don't know if you ever played it.
No.
So it became famous because it was one of the first games to have an almost infinite number of planets.
Is this the game where it just creates a universe?
Yeah,
it's kind of boring, I heard.
Yeah, it was kind of boring at first. I mean, I haven't played it in a while. I just kind of looked at it. But it procedurally generates everything for you. Because there's no way a team of, like, I was in the video game industry, right? There's no way a team could create 18 quintillion worlds. And it turns out that's exactly the number of worlds they have in that game, because that is, 64 bits. That's the biggest number you can get if you use 64 bits.
Right.
Okay, so come back to that's exponential growth. It's just too big. And so with a quantum computer, theoretically, and these are pretty new right now, right? Amazon has one, Microsoft has one, IBM has one that you can actually program online. Google has their own. Everyone's trying to figure out how to make these qubits stable and work. But the basic idea, and I don't know what number we're up to. For a while, it was like you could only have 4 bits qubits, kind of like going back to the old, when we were young, the Apple II or whatever came out, and before that there were these small 8-bit processor-based kits that people would assemble, and they just couldn't have a lot of data because they just couldn't keep track of that many bits, and that's where quantum computers are today. But the idea is if you can have 64 qubits, you can instantaneously solve a problem that is exponential because you can explore all of those at the same time, and then when you measure the result, it's all, now nobody knows exactly how this works, but the 2 explanations, coming back, sorry, I know I'm kind of wandering a bit, coming back to Schrodinger's cat, we say there's 2 possibilities, right? So with 64 qubits, there's 2 to the 64 possibilities if they're all in superposition. They have all the possible values of it, and so basically, when you measure that, it brings it back. And so physicists call this the collapse of the probability wave. So there's a probability of all these possibilities, and then it comes down to 1. And that's sort of the best, one of the accepted ways that people think this whole thing works. But nobody totally knows. So another guy who was John Wheeler's grad student at Princeton came up with another idea. And we've heard about this idea from the superhero movies, right? And this is the multiverse idea, right?
Yeah.
And so basically he said that if you've got Schrodinger's cat, what happens is you're splitting the universe into 2 different universes. In one of them, the cat is alive. And in another one, the cat is dead, right? So that's the multiverse idea, is that when we measure it, we only see one of those 2 because we're in this universe. But if we happen to be in this other universe, the cat would have been dead, right? The cat is alive here. And so that creates a whole series of possibilities which are being used now in superhero stories all the time, right? You've got your different versions of Batman, your different versions of Superman.
Spider-Man, yeah.
The famous Spider-Man meme where you have like the Spider-Men all kind of pointing at each other.
Yeah.
Right, and they have the different actors. So that idea has started to catch on now. It's what I like to call, it's past the 10-year-old test, right? And the 10-year-old test is when a scientific idea gets out there so much that even 10-year-olds can kind of understand it because of superhero movies, or because
maybe that's why these quantum computers are thinking the multiverse. All the movies all these movies, life. I don't know.
Like in the
thinks that everything that
1930s, when they were trying to explain Superman, like how does Superman get his powers? You say, oh, he came from another planet. He came from a planet called Krypton, right? So even a 10-year-old in the 1930s could have understood that. But in the 1730s, like, you couldn't say that. No one would know what the heck you're talking about, right? Right. And so that idea kind of diffused through society. And so that's happening now with the multiverse idea too. It's kind of diffusing, through society in this way, through popular culture.
If you enjoyed today's episode on JRE Plus, don't forget...
if you enjoyed, make sure you click on the like button at the bottom and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Have a good day. I'm going to just start talking like that every time. Peace out, everybody. Thanks for watching.